You know, I can't bag on Mags too hard. She has 900 people buying her comics. I get a few dozen or so eyeballs on every video. So maybe there are 900 people who look forward to Mags' books every month and read them with a passion. So that is very cool. I read most of the things Mags has written, and I suspect that the 1,000 or two people who buy her books are LGBT, don't forget the plus bigot, who are buying the books to virtue signal because, not to put too fine a point on it, but Morning in America makes Kim and Kim look genius. Morning in America is a comic in name only. It is in book format, it has colored pages, dialogue, etc., but the plot is so weak, there's no overarching theme, or rather it's explained pretty poorly. And to say nothing of the art, take a look at this drawing of a bicycle. Just for giggles, I went to Twitter to see how many people were talking about Morning in America. Did I just call it Good Morning in America? I think I was confused with that with the Robin Williams film, Good Morning Vietnam. Morning in America is what it's called. Nobody is talking about Mags Visaggio's book on Twitter. At least nobody in the results I could find. Get in focus. Cheap ass. Okay, let's take a quick look at Mags Visaggio's. Live fast, be trash, whatever. Okay, the pinned tweet is about something you think of when you're stoned out of your gourd, which I recommend every so often, but remember to make it a treat. Retweeting Renfamous. Even with moderate interest rates, after 10 years, Will.i.am is owed a large quantity of semen. Ew. I don't want to think of Renfamous or Mags Visaggio involved in semen. Okay, talking about pop culture. After a few posts, you get to a book that is coming out. No, I don't want to join Twitter. Twitter makes people into monsters, or it merely reveals the monstrous. I don't know. Okay, so a book is coming out. I see a blue-haired, short-haired girl, so that means it's an SJW book. So that's not for, you're alienating a large part of the audience. Fine. You're selling to the SJWs, or you're selling to the short-haired, blue-haired crowd. That's fine. Okay, so you're advertising one book, and you got 26 likes and 9 retweets and 1 comment. So nobody's excited about this book because nobody's excited about Mags Visaggio, though you have 26,000 followers. And she's advertising another book. That's very kind of you, selling someone else's product. Multiple posts on just stupid. Transition, you cowards. Eating a meatball sub mid-coitus would be the height of bliss. For a moment, please imagine Mags Visaggio. Go to Google image search. Put in either Brian Visaggio or Mags Visaggio. Now, imagine Mags Visaggio naked, getting pounded, eating a meatball sub. I promise you, you will never eat a meatball sub again with that image in mind. Anyway, goes on and doesn't advertise her books. What she does is retweet a few other artists, completely fails to plug her own products. With the rise of social media, comics have entered a new phase. You must shamelessly sell... Oh, look at that bicycle. Look at the wheels on the bicycle. What do you notice about those wheels? Can't you just... I mean, if you really can't draw, why don't you just trace from a model? Like I said, comics have entered a new phase. You got to shamelessly self-promote. Nobody sells better than you. Or at least nobody sells your own product better than you. She has 26,000 followers. Why not try talking about your books more often? You have to sell the sizzle. The steak won't sell itself. Talk about how your experiences growing up help craft the story that you're trying to sell. The funny thing is, Mags is an avowed socialist and expects the company to do 100% of the promotion. Products don't sell themselves, even more so with products that are meant for a tiny fraction of the customers. And not to be rude, but the books aren't very good. The only way to sell them is to sell yourself. People need to buy the books simply because they like you. And you need, 1, way more feedback, and 2, you need to listen to it and not just block anyone who criticizes you. Oh, God, look at that drawing. Oh, That is not good. But again, that's not Mags' fault, even though she did, I guess, choose to work with this artist. One of the reasons why an unknown like your boy Zach raised $400,000 on Jawbreakers is simply because people like him. They enjoyed his content and they viewed $35 as a very fair way to thank Zach for providing hundreds of hours of entertaining content. So I'm telling Mags to be entertaining. Dance, monkey, dance. The problem is that Mags Visaggio is a deeply unlikable person. She seems to hate cis, straight men, capitalists, conservatives, moderates, anyone who doesn't think Trump is Satan. So out of a potential audience of 1/3 billion people, that's just in the States alone, she manages to alienate 99% of them. Oh, and she thinks Comicsgate is a hate group. And this is actually important because Comicsgate is a large and growing audience. I will loosely estimate the size as about 100,000, with the hardcore folks who buy books at about 10,000. Comicsgate is a new and fresh take on marketing comics books and potentially other media as well. With 10,000 hardcore fans, you get 400,000 for Jawbreakers, 800,000 for Cyberfrog, probably 1 million for Earthworm Jim, and Mike Miller, Mitch Breitweiser, and dozens of others have been successfully funded. To insult the Comicsgate crowd is absolutely insane. Believe it or not, there are members of the queer community, queer plus community in Comicsgate, and they might be interested in your products, but not if you call them fascists. It would be one thing if Comicsgate was a hate group, but it's not. I know it's not a hate group. You know it's not a hate group. Most of the anti-Comicsgate people know it's not a hate group. And I guarantee you that the professionals in comics, the Mark Wades, the Gail Simones, if you put a gun to their head, I'm not suggesting you do, and ask them, I think they deep down in their corrupt, shrunken, shriveled little hearts, they know that Comicsgate is not a hate group. They know it's a diverse, eclectic group of all kinds of people, all different religions, ethnicities, sexes, two sexes, and sexualities. There are members of the LGBT group in Comicsgate. Of course there are. There are men and women in Comicsgate. There are people from around the world in Comicsgate. There's these comics. There's a diversity in comics. Comics Matter with your boy Zach. He shows pictures on the community page of people who bought Jawbreakers, and they got it shipped around the world. And he's showing photographs of Jawbreakers on, like in front of the Eiffel Tower, in front of the Taj Mahal, those kind of places. Showing it. What this does is it brings the community together. It shows that his comic books have a global outreach. People around the world from different countries are buying his comic books. It's not just fascist Trump supporters. It's everyone around the world. I don't see that kind of enthusiasm in mainstream comics. I don't see any of that enthusiasm in mainstream comics. I see a lot of hatred. This, not to get too political, this reminds me of the Trump versus Hillary thing in 2015. When they first came out, I didn't like either one of them. A lot of people didn't like either one of them. A lot of people really, really didn't like Trump because of his attitude, but they also knew that Hillary Clinton was a liar, and you can't elect a liar to any office. The thing is that when I saw them talking in the news, releasing press releases, and they did 3 debates, and I saw those, I noticed that Hillary and Hillary's camp were attacking Trump. Trump wasn't attacking Hillary as often. What he was doing, he was talking about policy position and his points. He had a platform. Hillary didn't have a platform. She was just talking about Trump. And what I noticed in the anti-Comicsgate crowd is they're not platforming their own material or their SJW friends material, which they should. They're just talking about Comicsgate and how much Comicsgate is such a hate group. but I don't see them showing their comic book collection of the books they currently buy, their pull lists or whatever they're interested in. It's a negative group, where Comicsgate is a positive group. Comicsgate is a boycott. People just buy the books you like, move the needle. Buy the books you like, post it on social media, hashtag it, move the needle, show people what you love. And Anti-Comicsgate isn't doing that. They're just talking about Comicsgate. It's a weird thing. They're a boycott thing. Anyway, I'd say 90% of the people, I don't know, maybe Mark Waid is a true believer. Maybe he really thinks Meyer is some kind of supremacist. I really doubt it, because he's not retarded. He's not an actual crazy person. He's got emotional problems, but I don't think he's actually mentally retarded. So most of them know Comicsgate is not a hate group. It's just nonsense. But for people like Mags, virtue signaling a straw man is more important than selling books. Anyway, the story in MIA 5, Morning in America, needs work. It's not unsavable, but it needs an editor to crack the whip. We are 5 issues in and have badly drawn kids fighting silly Billy space aliens. But the broader story of the aliens isn't explained. The book is selling 1,000 copies. It will be canceled any day now. It really should have been canceled after issue 3. It sold, the first issue was 5,000. Second issue was about 2,000. By 3, it was down to 1,500. The fourth issue is about 1,300. I don't have the numbers for issue 5, which this issue is, but it's probably less than 1,000. You should have written a tighter, faster story that could have been told in 4 or 5 issues at most. You simply don't have the audience to support more than 4 or 5 issues. There are many transition scenes in this book that should have been replaced with a backstory about the aliens or how the government is gearing up. This is just kind of a wasted page. I mean, it shows the desolation, but you show the desolation in a few other images. It's just not necessary. It should have been replaced with a backstory about the aliens or how the government is gearing up to fight the aliens. Anyway, as bad as her books are, everyone knows who she is merely because being trans is incredibly trendy right now. My point is, why not capitalize on that fame and use it to sell some books? Anyway, this book sucked. You should have saved your money and donated it to me. I promised to spend it on drugs and whores. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe.